The magic of theater is that it blurs the line between imagination and reality. In our modern world, it is often difficult to determine what is real and what is fake news. In Bas Bleu's current production of Harvey, it's left to you, the audience, to decide. I'm Lenny Scoville, and this is Stages. Welcome back. We are here once again at Bas Bleu Theater. The production going up is Mary Chase's Harvey, and I am with three venerable Fort Collins veterans of the stage, Morris Burns, David Siever, and Kathy Leonard. Welcome to Stages.
Good to be
Thank
here.
you.
So Morris, you are the director
I still am.
said production.
Taping.
So tell us about the production. Tell us about, for those that don't know the story of Harvey.
Well, Harvey refers to the invisible rabbit who is a creation of Mr. Dowd. The rabbit really is his soulmate. And my sense is, and David can substantiate this, is that he was looking for a true friend. Mm-hmm. And not finding one in his midst, he created Harvey. And one of the most absolutely moving pieces of dialogue in the play is when he shares with us, as well as his fellow characters, how he met Harvey. And to me, while it's a wonderful comedy, and people may not realize that come this November 1, the play will celebrate its 75th anniversary of having opened on Broadway in 1944. And to me, what the play, in a nutshell, conveys is what some people are willing to do to help someone they really love. So amidst all the laughter that is in the script, you walk away with some real meaningful thoughts to contemplate.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it wouldn't have survived as successfully as it has for all this time if it didn't have some of those universal themes, right?
Absolutely right.
You know, and it's you'd have to say that this is kind of one of the cornerstone pieces of American dramatic literature, right?
I'll second that.
Yeah, it's been done everywhere by everyone at some point, it seems like. Including you, David. You've done this role once before.
Did it once before.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And you know, I agree totally with what Morris is saying. And also the other thing is, he just got tired of all of the stuff going on in the world and just said, I'm going to drop out here for a while and just enjoy life and enjoy the people around me. And you know, he's got one of the lines I like is, you can either be smart or pleasant, and my guy, he's chosen pleasant. Mm-hmm. And that's really kind of what the whole play is about, is saying, hey, just enjoy life. Mm-hmm. Just enjoy the people around you. It's and that sounds a little heavy because it's very funny. There's some very funny things in it. Vita's the one that gets thrown into the, I hate to say insane asylum, but
sanitarium, yes, by mistake, right? It's a mistaken identity kind of thing, right?
Mistaken identity.
Yeah, mistaken identity, and she's the one that she has a lot of the comedy in the show. Yeah.
Well, tell us about your role, Kathy.
I love Vita. She's conflicted. She has a daughter, an unmarried daughter that she's trying to present to society, and since they've discovered her, the young girl's uncle's best new friend, Harvey, it's kind of thrown them into a turmoil. Mm-hmm. And I think that poor Vita's conflicted because she adores her brother. And of course she loves her daughter. And so she's struggling to try to make things right with both of them. And in so doing, I really believe that Vita's a little touched herself.
Mm-hmm. So one of the themes, it seems, in this show is that tension that's found between how we think we need to be perceived by society, by our local culture, and what we know to be true, right? Because depending on how you take this play, there can be some question about Harvey's real existence, right? I mean, that's a question that's not really ever answered.
It comes up several times during the play. Does Vita really see Harvey, and do others? You have the Dr. Chumley and all, and so yes, others fall into that same category of wanting to see something like Harvey. They want that.
And I think one of the powerful elements of the Invisible Rabbit is the impact he has on David's character, Mr. Dowd, and then in turn the impact that Dowd has on the people that he meets. And initially they're all doubting Thomases, so to speak. And by the end of it, while they may not believe in the rabbit, they believe in Dowd. And he becomes a vehicle of joy.
Right, an agent of change.
An agent of change that makes the receivers better people. So it's like, one line I just reread today deals with the whole notion of believing in something you can't see. Do you have the ability to surpass your inability not to touch, feel, or see Harvey in order to appreciate him? And I think people find that they can do that, and part of that, I think, is the magic of the actor playing the part and those who are supporting him in their various roles.
And there's a wonderful bit with a cab driver. And the cab driver is coming to the sanitarium and has brought Vita and the entourage there. And Vita, in her discussion with him, they talk about what happens when they're trying to change Elwood's personality or make it so that he does not see the rabbit. And then Vita, and the description of the difference between how when they give some people this magic elixir and he wouldn't see Harvey, he would also change his persona. And I love it because Vita decides she doesn't want her brother that way. She doesn't want him to take that she likes him and is willing to live with Harvey.
You know what's interesting to me is how many people maybe think they know Harvey and the play Harvey. And it's been a long time since it was done. So I think that what I'd like to do is get some of the younger people in here seeing this show, because it's just a fun evening in the theater. It's just you can just, hey, we all know that there's a lot going on in our world these days.
That's what I was thinking, David, is because we live in this world where information is sort of immediate, and truth and fake news are often in competition with each other. It makes me wonder what this play says to a generation like this that to some degree has willingly given up their joy of fancy, and fantasy, in spite of things like Game of Thrones and other things like that. But we're in this tension in our society that you want things to be factual and you want it to be all in front of you. Does that start to reduce your capacity to enjoy life, right? Enjoy the things that are around you. Do you think the play plays well in that sense in our modern culture?
Yeah, I think it does that. I guess the other thing that I think it does, it just when you come to the play, you kind of can leave all that stuff behind. You can just drop it behind. That's what I hope people do, that they come in and they know they can laugh. That's what we have to do. We have to allow them that ability to laugh out there as an audience.
And it's very tender too. I get a lump in my throat times at some of David's speeches, because they're so sincere, and the show won the Pulitzer Prize, and it's incredibly well written. I enjoy that aspect of it too, and I think that's sometimes what audiences now are hungering for, just a well-written play.
I had an interesting experience this past November. I realized I'd never seen the Jimmy Stewart film, which I found hard to believe I'd never run into that film. So I took myself to a local bookstore, Emporium, and first went up to the new release section, and I noticed this man standing over my shoulder, and he asked me, "Can I help you?" And at first I thought he might have thought I was a shoplifter, but he wasn't. He was an employee of the store. So then I went to the theater section. By George, I turned around, there the guy is again. Same question, "Can I help you?" Finally, I pick up the DVD of the film. I take it up to the front counter. I put it on the desk. And who's there to take the money? This man. "Harvey," he said. "Oh my God, I grew up with Harvey." "You did?" Not realizing who I was talking to. And he said, "My dad loved this film, and he watched it repeatedly, and by heavens, after a while, he started talking to Harvey. He had a Harvey for years." He said, "So I'm very familiar with this film." And I thought, oh my heavens. I mean, that's having an impact. I mean, when you have people relating with the lead of the play and the film.
It's interesting to think too that you know, what he said to you sparked in me that oftentimes we don't have, because we are so married to the present world, we don't have that safety valve release of giving ourselves permission to unload on our own Harveys, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's one of the great benefits of having a 6-foot giant invisible rabbit, right? Is that when the world starts to come at you in that way, you have a safety outlet. You have some place to vent that.
I wish I'd asked him if his dad ever talked to Harvey outside the home.
On the street. You know, we probably should touch a bit on this, that the lady who wrote it was from Denver, Colorado. And there are a lot of references to streets in Denver that we know of there. But Mary Chase lived there her whole life, actually. Actually, I think she died in 1981 in Denver, having written several other plays, but nothing that was like Harvey.
Yeah, I was going to ask if she had written anything else, because her name doesn't come to mind when I think of other plays.
No.
There's an old movie, Bernadine, I think, that Pat Boone, of all things, was in, and that was her.
That was her?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
She wrote that. And when I knew that I was going to play Vita again, I was kind of remembering that I'd read an article years ago when we were first doing the show about where they lived, and I had the address and was always going to go there, and then misplaced that article. Well, I'll be darned. I was going through a box of random pictures and things, and that showed up, and I found myself saying, Harvey.
Yeah.
So Morris, tell us about the production itself. I noticed the stage is a giant revolve, right?
Well, the first consideration is that there are 2 sets. There are 5 scenes, and the one location we're in the midst of right now. This is the rest home, and on the other side of that wall is the Dowd family library. So the critical question is, how are you going to create the 2 environments without taking too much time to change the setting?
Mm-hmm.
And the revolve, there was a revolve here at Bas Bleu before this show, but this was remade, a much bigger circumference than the last one.
I don't know if you've looked at it, Lenny, but this thing is huge.
Yeah, I can tell. Yeah, it does
It's
look
just
huge.
It opens up the whole stage and everything.
And who's your set designer?
Dennis Madigan is the set designer, and Brian Miller is our lighting designer, who has a special take on the lighting for the show that I won't divulge, to entice prospective viewers to attend. And there are an amazing number of cues that surprised me at our what they call a paper tech the other day. And there are many, many props. And John Hill is the costume designer, and who I've worked with many, many years at CSU. And let me see, who am I leaving out? I'm leaving out our
Aubrey
Aubrey.
Stalnecker.
our
Yeah.
assistant director, computer guru, stage manager.
It
Incredible,
keeps us in
incredible.
line.
Yeah.
Yes, she is really, well, she's very talented.
Yeah.
So let's see, who am I leaving out anybody else?
Props and set dressing.
Well, set dressing is Madigan and Company, and Victoria, our prop mistress. And of course, Wendy, she hovers over us as
Right.
the artistic director. So it's quite a team. We have 2 Sandersons. That's the Dr. Chumley's assistant, because the first one that I cast isn't able to make a couple of performances. So that's interesting for the actors to play
It is,
off of
yeah.
2 different Dr. Sandersons.
And
We
do
have
you
some
rotate
key
them in and
scenes.
out in the course of the rehearsal process?
Yes, rotate them in and out. We've had one dog visitor who howled during an intense, I thought it was a verbal altercation in the play as opposed to a physical one, but the dog did
With
not
her
take-
owner. I mean, she was
Yeah.
upset because her owner was
Yeah,
on stage.
yeah.
And
But we're not advocating that people bring their pets to the show.
No.
Of course.
But I do get this question. Well, my grandson is 13. Would he enjoy it? Well, my granddaughter is 12. What's your take? And my answer always is, I'd really have to know your grandchild. But I would think is there a normal 12-year-old?
Right.
I don't think they'd have any trouble. I think they'd find quite a bit to.
And there are no quote bad language or
Right.
any of that. It's just it's a total family-friendly show along those lines.
Just
I
people
mean,
doubting people, and we encounter that in everyday life.
right. And my 13-year-old grandson and soon-to-be 16-year-old grandson, my daughter's going to bring them. She said, "Do you think they'd like it?" I said, "Well, I think they need to have the experience." And they've seen plays before. My one grandson usually says, "This isn't a show, is it, where all of a sudden they start singing for no reason?" But so.
Hey, I'm surprised, really, the shows that are being done in high school these days.
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing some real big type shows there, and so they're starting to see these shows early on and getting exposed to theater. Laramie Project, wasn't that? Pooter did that, didn't they?
Yes, they did. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, to do that in a high school, I think is pretty challenging and challenging the audience also. So yeah, I think 13-year-olds could have a great time at it.
Right.
You know?
I think the time is going to come when we see a musical version of Harvey, because there have been times where I've said to this actor or that actress, you almost sang that line of dialogue. And, I mean, it has all the. I mean, what do you need more than Invisible Rabbit to have an American musical? I mean, you can have a lion, you can you can have a gorilla. Let's hear it for the rabbits.
Right. Well, and you can think of the Broadway magic that
Yes.
could take place around.
Of course,
You
of
know,
course.
again, drawing out that question:
Yeah.
does this rabbit exist or does it not?
Right.
Well, Morris Burns, David Siever, and Kathy Leonard, thank you for joining us here on
Thank you.
Stages.
You bet.
you.
Thanks.